Friday afternoon ended up being more newsworthy than I ever expected in the world of professional wrestling. So much so that I did not even have a major topic to build this podcast around today. Devastating news coming out of All Elite Wrestling. Jon Moxley came out on social media and publicly stated himself that he will not be in Chicago. His injury is indeed serious, and the dream match at All Out between Moxley and Omega is not happening. That very same day, Rey Phoenix reportedly injured on an independent show in Rhode Island, rumored to have broken his leg. Is AEW's All Out cursed? What is AEW going to do in light of two devastating injuries before Saturday night? I got the latest on Rey Phoenix, and I'm going to tell you why Jon Moxley missing AEW's All Out might actually be a blessing in disguise. Also, Cody Rhodes says he's oddly intrigued about what WWE is going to do with NXT on the USA Network, and the demise of 205 Live could be on the horizon. All this plus so much more right here on Off the Script.
Delete! This is mine.
Man, it's so weird. It really is so weird. I joked about it on social media. I'm like, please, someone take the voodoo doll away from Vince McMahon. It's like Vince McMahon is cursing All Out and cursing AEW because he's just been under so much stress about them even existing and going to war, quote unquote, with WWE. It was like I was watching an entire show burn down to the ground. And then I laid my head down to sleep last night, and someone tweeted at me, because I tweeted about the fucking stress of the Braves-Mets game last night. Someone actually tweeted in the thread of my tweet about the baseball game, Rey Phoenix possibly broken his leg and might miss All Out on top of the Moxley news. I'm like, holy shit. So a bunch of things are running through my head, man. I'm like, what are they going to do now? This show is absolutely crumbling right before our very eyes. They are even, the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon and Phoenix, are even House of Glory Tag Team Champions. I was worried about what we're going to do with them going into the plans that we got for them at House of Glory. It was crazy, man. It was really crazy. I did not even have a major story for this podcast today. I wasn't even going to record, but there's no way I can avoid all this news about AEW. I got news on All Out, Moxley, Omega canceled. We're going to go over all that and why I do think that this might be a blessing in disguise, and Pac being available is absolutely amazing. We may end up getting a better match than originally advertised with Moxley and Omega. So I'll go over my reasoning for why I think that. I got news on Phoenix. Apparently Phoenix is going to be back in action as of tonight. So we'll go over that as well and everything that transpired with him, Cody Rhodes, why he thinks that he is oddly intrigued about NXT moving to the USA Network. I got news on AEW's women's title, what their plan is, and who they might crown a women's champion. And I got news on 205 Live. We might have seen the end of 205 Live on the WWE Network. And if that's the case, what do we do with all the top talent on that show, man? So we got a lot to go over today on Off the Script. I am JD. This is episode 288, part number 2. So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you missed part number 1, link will be down in the comment section of this very video. Make sure you guys go and check all of that out, including Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, and my original, just hours after it was announced, thoughts on the NXT move to the USA Network. You guys can check all that stuff out live right now on the channel. Follow me on social media, man, at JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want my thoughts about pro wrestling, if you guys want my thoughts on beer, if you guys want random cat pictures of my 2 little babies, or if you guys want me ranting about how the NL East is all of a sudden competitive when the Braves seemingly had everything under wraps. I don't get it. I watched that Braves-Mets game, man. I watched it last night, and the Braves struck out 26 times. 26 times. Now, I know that they are not playing as good as they were before the All-Star break, but they are operating right now 60, maybe 70% at full strength. They have a lot of injuries going on right now. And I thought they were going to blow that game because their bullpen has been one of the weakest aspects of that entire team. The bullpen kept them in the game. So I want to thank the Mets closer. I believe their closer is Familia. I want to thank him for being my favorite baseball player on Friday night because he absolutely fucking tanked. And they beat the Mets because of his ineptability to get anything done. So there you go. Braves ended up winning 2-1. We're now 10 games up on the Mets. The Nationals don't want to lose. I don't know what's going to happen, man, but it's going to come down to the wire, apparently. I didn't think I was going to have to worry about this shit. Going into the season, I was supposed to worry about the Phillies, and then the Mets got hot and won like 10 in a row, and then the Nationals just don't lose anymore. Don't know what's going on. It's like they're playing better without that prick, Bryce Harper, who I just look at and I fucking just get angry because he looks like a motherfucker. Anyway, that's my rant on baseball. But if you guys want my thoughts on everything social media, you guys can certainly follow me on social media, man, at JD from NY206. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys want to support the podcast via Patreon, it's a great way to show some extra appreciation. And more importantly, man, hit that subscribe button. This summer has been awful. Don't know what's going on. I can't wait for the fall, and I can't wait for AEW. I feel like everything's going to be on the up and up, but it's been a very slow summer, man. Hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. We are here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday religiously with Raw, SmackDown, and NXT coverage in full, and the flagship podcast right here on the weekend off the script. You guys will not be disappointed. Harrys.com/script, man. Make sure you guys visit harrys.com/script for your $13 value trial sets. I want you guys to join the 10 million, including myself, and claim your offer today by using our unique link. Did you guys know that Harry's founders were just 2 regular guys like you and me, tired of getting ripped off and paying for overpriced gimmicks, vibrating heads, flex balls, handles that look like a cheap prop in a sci-fi movie? These are just some of the tactics that the leading brands have used to overcharge us for years. Harry's makes quality, durable blades at a fair price, just $2 per blade. And to keep prices low, they cut out the middleman. They bought a world-class blade factory in Germany that's been making the best razors in the world for 99 years. And they can provide you with great quality at factory direct prices with a 100% quality guarantee. If you don't love your shave, you're going to let them know and they're going to give you a full refund. JD, this sounds great. I'm intrigued, like Cody Rhodes is intrigued about NXT moving to the USA Network. What am I going to get when I use harrys.com/script? You're going to get a razor handle with an easy grip. Choice of color is up to you, by the way. The navy blue, the orange, or the evergreen. 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade for a close, comfortable shave. Rich lathering shave gel that will leave you smelling great, and it feels fantastic on your face. And a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy on the go. It is perfect if you are a man or woman of business and travel a lot for work. You can take your razor and keep it dry, safe, and easy on the go. Listeners of Off the Script can redeem their trial set by using harrys.com/script. Make sure you go to harrys.com/script to redeem your offer and let them know that JD sent you to help support Off the Script. Well, the reason why you're here is for Jon Moxley. And I'm going to start off with Jon Moxley. I recorded the podcast yesterday, and I said in the podcast that if there's any more on Jon Moxley's injury, and if it's more severe than people are letting on, we don't have any more additional information at that time, I will let you know. Then in typical fashion, I finish the podcast, I upload the podcast, it goes public live on YouTube, and then Jon Moxley comes out and says, well, you know, I'm going to miss All Out, it sucks, and I will be back in a couple of months. So I'm like, of course he came out and said, and the first thing that went into my mind was, this sucks, and I hope that he gets better and quick. The main thing about this is that he is healthy and he is 100%. Then I got to thinking, is it so much of a bad idea that he's actually missing the show? I'm sure AEW has a backup plan. As soon as they found out that he might be missing the show, before it was even reported, I'm sure they already had a backup plan. So I tweet out on social media, let's get CM Punk against Kenny Omega. Time to offer CM Punk multi-millions to come on in and fill the void against Kenny Omega. Then it was tweeted out, literally 15 minutes after Jon Moxley made the announcement that he won't be at All Out, that Pac is going to be taking his place, and that the original plans for Pac were to include Kenny Omega, but I'm like, wow, they work fast. They work fast. AEW probably had this up their sleeve if anything serious came out about Jon Moxley. Then I got to thinking, when Pac and Omega was announced, I'm like, this doesn't seem to be so much of a bad idea. In fact, this might be a blessing in disguise. This might actually make the overall All Out show better, and this might actually end up working out better for AEW in general with Jon Moxley being out. Let him get okay. Let him get 100%. Let him get healthy. That's the most important thing right now. Pac and Omega are going to burn it down in Chicago. That is going to be one of the best matches that we see. One of the best professional wrestling matches that we see all year. It probably would have been the same thing with Omega and Moxley, but I think Pac and Omega is going to be a step above what Moxley and Omega did in Chicago. Let's start from the very top here. Jon Moxley out of All Out. He will not be there, and his replacement was indeed named Neville, a.k.a. Pac, will take on Omega. Now, Jon Moxley hasn't wrestled his first official match in AEW, quote-unquote. He did wrestle Joey Janela in an unsanctioned match at Fyter Fest. And Jon Moxley informed everyone on social media. He finally came out on social media and said publicly himself that he has MRSA and needs surgery. He has a staph infection. And if you guys recall, I believe he said it on the Chris Jericho podcast, or he said it somewhere in an interview as he was on his way out of WWE, that he had a staph infection in rehabilitation when he was coming back for that last run with Seth Rollins and The Shield and Roman Reigns, that he had a staph infection in the hospital and that it was so bad that he could have died. And now it's back, and now he needs surgery. He is getting this procedure, which will cost him All Out on August 31st. He will not be in the match, and the continuation of the feud with Kenny Omega is not happening. He did promise on social media that he will be back 100% and he will be ready for AEW's debut on TNT on October 2nd. He says this, and this is in his own words on his social media account on Twitter. He says this, and I quote, "I'm absolutely gutted to have to deliver this news, but I'd rather it come from me directly. In a nightmare scenario, a serious case of MRSA, MRSA, has returned in my elbow. The timing could not be worse. In this circumstance, I am forced to pull out of the fight on 8/31 against Omega at All Out. I apologize to all involved, most importantly the fans. I am incredibly frustrated and pissed off. I'll have surgery this week to remove the bursa sac in my elbow and be done with it for good. Should be a quick recovery, so I will be 100% for AEW Wednesday nights on TNT. Still, I expect All Out to be an amazing pay-per-view and hope all the fans out there looking for an alternative tune in. You will be blown away by AEW and be excited to be a wrestling fan. I'm looking forward to watching as a fan myself." End quote. Now, Moxley did state he will be back for AEW's October 2nd debut on TNT. Now, I actually looked in my email, and one of you fine listeners who are a fan of the podcast reached out to me. I will keep this person anonymous as per his requests. But he did some research for me, which helped me in this story understand the severity of the injury. He says, and I quote, "Per the literature of the Moxley injury, the common approach to septic bursitis is drainage, surgery, and a minimum of 2 weeks of antibiotics." Now, Moxley did say that he's going to get the sac removed and operated on it's going to be a minimum of 2 weeks of antibiotics. This does not account for the surgical wound healing and the antibiotic, of course, that may be needed to, be treated with the injury involved here, and that might be longer than 2 weeks. Treatment regimens for this condition are poorly defined and controversial. He says, I listened to your podcast on my way to my job as a research physician. Love your work and wanted to pass this along. Take it as you will. Thank you so very much, man. I really appreciate it. If you are listening, I'm sure you know that this is the email that you sent to me. Now, moving on, in the report that reported on Moxley's injury, these are typical procedures for this surgery. The skin should be well healed in 12 to 16 days after surgery, and after 3 to 4 weeks, the doctor may allow you to fully use your elbow, and your elbow may need to be padded or protected in that instance for several months to prevent re-injury on this certain situation. Now, I want to wish Jon Moxley a speedy recovery. This is devastating. And Moxley was working in Japan. I don't know how this injury came to be. Don't know what caused this. If it was indeed caused in Japan, might very well have. I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and assume. Because I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about this type of stuff. But with Moxley's injury and then Rey Phoenix possibly breaking his leg, and he might be out of All Out, and that marquee match with the Young Bucks, that ladder match for the AAA Tag Team Championships, one has to wonder if Tony Khan and everybody involved with AEW is going to sit these guys down and say, no more. They are definitely going to rethink about what they do or what they allow their superstars to do in regards to working in Japan or working several dates on the indies. Now, I don't know what this means going forward, but I can certainly say I would say I would put a lot on this, and I would be a betting man to say that Tony Khan and AEW are seriously going to rethink what they allow their wrestlers to do from this point on. This is fucking scary. The fact that Jon Moxley is now out after you promoted this mega match all the way from Double or Nothing with Omega, and then Rey Phoenix goes out there and breaks his leg possibly, breaks his foot, breaks his leg. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I know Jon Moxley is making mega money to come on into AEW. I get it. I get he wanted to work New Japan. He wanted to maybe work off some of that ring rust. He wanted to put himself out there and just do the things. And it was probably more of a situation where he wanted to go do the G1 because he knew being in the WWE and being a slave and being captive under Vince McMahon that he would have never had an opportunity to do the G1. And he wanted to go out there and just do the things that he was dying to do as a lover of pro wrestling. He wanted to do the G1. Might have worked off some ring rust. Might have learned a new thing or two over there. And it certainly played into the Omega storyline because the promo that Jon Moxley cut on Omega was fucking unbelievable. You're a master of what you do. You learned everything in Japan. All these 5-star classics that I'm hearing about. Now I'm going to your country. I'm learning the tricks of the trade that you already know. And I'm going to use what you know against you in Chicago. It's fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So not only did Moxley go out there and do what he wanted to do, just because he never had an opportunity to do so, but it worked so brilliantly into the storyline with Omega. But that does not negate the fact that Tony Khan is probably thinking, I'm investing so much money into these guys. And yeah, I want to keep everybody happy, and I want to allow some freedom to these guys to do whatever they want, but the risk of injury, especially in the G1 climax and working that stiff, hard, strong style in Japan, it's so much of a risk that it might actually take away from what is most important, and the money that Tony Khan is paying him to be Jon Moxley in AEW. They're going to have to sit down and rethink what they allow their guys to do. And that goes for Rey Phoenix and Pentagon as well. I really don't understand why. Now, I'm never going to sit here and tell you that, these guys shouldn't do what they want. They want to go work the indies? They want to go make some extra money? By all means, go do what you want to do. But you've done that. My logic is, yes, they're for the fans, and yes, they want to give back to the fans, but these guys, Rey Phoenix and Pentagon, have worked so hard. They've worked so hard. They've put years and years on their bodies to get to this point. At what point do you say enough is enough? At what point do you think, when's the payoff coming? When is our time? To Pentagon and Phoenix, this is your time. There's no reason to be working an independent match in Rhode Island in front of 300 fucking people. There's no reason. There's no reason. AEW has signed you to whatever deal that they signed you to be a part of their company. You don't think that AEW wants you exclusively to be major stars? I mean, who would have thought Pentagon and Phoenix being major stars on TNT of all fucking stations? Nobody expected that. They did not even expect that. Now look at them. They're going to be household names for all Elite Wrestling. What is the reason you need to continue to go out there and break your bodies and risk injury when I am sure Tony Khan sat these guys down, offered them an exclusive deal to a point where they don't have to do that? Again, it's going to be rethought. Tony Khan's going to sit, the Bucks, Omega, everybody involved, Cody's going to sit down and rethink what they're going to have these guys do. There's no reason for them to do this anymore. This is your payoff. This is what you've worked all these years for. There's no reason to continue breaking your bodies. You're going to be a major spotlight focus point on TNT every single week. Why do you need to go wrestle in Rhode Island in front of 300-400 people? There's no reason for it. There's no reason for you to come and work for House of Glory. And I mean that as someone who is there every single month. There's no reason for it. You are most valuable now to AEW. No one is going to be able to compensate you like AEW. So why risk? Why risk what you got here? It's just stupid. Now, again, I'm not going to say that they can't go out and do what they want to do. They want to go make some extra money. Great. But Tony Khan, I am sure, is offering you enough money to compensate for the shows that you might miss. He's going to offer you enough money to compensate for the shows that he doesn't want you to work. Or, in his eyes, he thinks you don't need to work. Come on now. I'm just speaking as far as logic. They've worked all their years to get to this point. Why continue doing what brought you to the dance? You're at the dance. It's time to elevate yourselves. It's time to grow and mature. You know, the style that they work is not safe. The flips, the dives, the fucking suicidal shit that they do and they're known for, eventually it's going to catch up to them. And this is what happened. Why do we need to go and risk an injury scare when the light at the end of the tunnel is the most important? The match with the Young Bucks at All Out for the AAA titles is going to be probably the biggest match that they've done all year. Why risk that? Why risk having that show jeopardized? Why risk all the fans in attendance that have sold this show out in 15 minutes? Why? For a fucking rinky-dink promotion that I don't even know of in Rhode Island? Come on now. Gotta be smarter than that, man. Gotta be smarter than that. Same thing with Moxley. Now, Moxley's contract with New Japan is running up until Wrestle Kingdom. He's going to be at Wrestle. He's still the IWGP United States Champion. So I'm sure he's going to be dropping that when he can. And Tony Khan is going to really reevaluate everybody. And AEW should seriously lock down everybody in exclusive deals moving forward. If they're going to be presenting weekly television 52 weeks a year, you're not allowed to do anything. This is not fucking Impact Wrestling where they're paying you $500 per appearance and you're struggling to pay your fucking rent every month. Yes, they need to go work independent shows. Yes, they need to provide for their families and put food on their table. Impact is not offering fucking Jon Moxley money to Brian Cage and Killer Cross and everybody else. You know? It's not one of those types of situations. This is 90 million homes that you're reaching. Spotlight. You're going to war with WWE. You don't need this shit anymore. You're going to be able to do everything that you wanted to do plus some with AEW. Give the lifestyle up. You've done it. Move on. That's the smart business decision. You don't need to do this anymore. Now, with Moxley being hurt, I, again, stated that CM Punk, jokingly, sarcastically, and I put a CM Punk gif on social media, I was half serious, because I still want to see that match. But I know it's a foregone conclusion that he's probably not going to show up. I'm making a prediction that he will be there in some way, shape, or form, but if Pac was supposed to be at All Out, PW Insider says that Pac was going to be at All Out. He was not going to be there in a wrestling capacity, but he was going to announce on Saturday night that he's going to be with AEW moving forward. That was the rumor from Mike Johnson of PW Insider. If Moxley is hurt and they're going to have to go to their Plan B, which was going to be a surprise outside of a wrestling capacity, who's going to be next in line for their major surprise? Was Pac their major surprise, or did they have a bigger surprise than Pac showing up on Saturday night? I don't know. But I'm glad that AEW works quick, because Pac was announced as Omega's opponent at All Out. There isn't much time to build this storyline, but who gives a shit? Who's going to complain about, oh, there's no storyline going into this? And who the fuck cares? It's going to end up being a 5-star match anyway. You're going to complain about a Pac-Omega match at All Out on a whim as a last-minute replacement for Jon Moxley? Pac was thought to be so much closer to AEW since losing the Dragon Gate Open the Dream Gate Championship. This was the reason he needed to be pulled from Double or Nothing, because he was champion, and he couldn't do a job for Kenny Omega later on because he was champion, and in no way, shape, or form should you, as a champion, be losing to anybody in another promotion. Period. Doesn't really look good for you. It doesn't look good for that brand's championship. Now, Meltzer's reporting that Omega was the planned direction with Pac months ago. But they obviously did not carry on with those plans. At the time, Pac was Dragon Gate's Open the Dream Gate champion, and he was not permitted to lose. Clearly, logical decision. That is why AEW couldn't work with Pac until now. At this time, there are no further discussions about the future of Pac, and that was debunked because Mike Johnson of PW Insider reported that Pac was always supposed to be at All Out. He was going to be announced with AEW moving forward. He's going to be with AEW moving forward. But, again, what do they have as far as a plan B as a major surprise if Pac was the surprise? Now, Moxley being replaced by Pac against Omega, this, like I said, is a blessing in disguise. Because, A, we're getting a better match in my eyes, I think, with Omega and Pac. Not to say that Moxley and Omega was not going to be a great match. I'm sure it was going to be a barn burner, but Pac versus Omega is one of those dream matches. We went from one dream match to another dream match, so I don't think people are really going to complain so much about Pac versus Omega. Moxley is, I don't want to say so much of a bigger name, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I think he is. Moxley is so much of a bigger name compared to Pac. Yes, Pac's got the indie name, and, he's an indie darling. He never found success in WWE, not anywhere close to what Moxley did as Dean Ambrose in The Shield. Moxley is a household name. Dean Ambrose, Jonathan Good is a household pro wrestler. Household name. Yes, it's disappointing because the advertised match that we've been given and the storylines that we've been seeing on the road to All Out, they're not taking place. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to take place. Yeah, we're getting a 5-star match in Omega and Pac, but do you know what this now means? Moxley can get rid of whatever has been ailing him clearly all this time. There was still the reason why it came back is because it was a persistent thing that did not go away from his last surgery. He's getting rid of it completely now. Moving him to TNT against Omega is so much better and can be looked at as a blessing in disguise because when you are now engaged in a war with NXT, it's going to be one of those things where you're presenting Omega and Moxley now on TNT as a major marquee dream match main event where all eyes, I am sure, you're going to want on that. To be honest with you, All Out's going to be great. All Out's going to be must see. It's a can't miss show. But what is more important now? Is All Out more important? No. All Out on the scale of importance falls below the TNT debut and what they do weekly. In my eyes, TNT now is the most important thing that AEW has going on for them right now. They need to fire on all cylinders. Having Moxley and Omega on whatever week when he's healthy on TNT is so much better. So much better for them in the end. Because that means only more eyes are going to be on the product on TNT than ever before. So I don't understand why anybody would have an issue with this. Yes, it's sad that Moxley's suffering through this, and yes, it's sad that he's hurt and he's going to have to take time away, but we have to look at it in a positive light. Yes, he's missing All Out, but what's more important, All Out or the TNT shows weekly on Wednesday? What's more important, the fact that he gets rid of this completely, or the fact that, yeah, you know, he's missing All Out, but it has another chance to come back, and maybe he's got to go through this again and misses more time. In fact, he's lucky that it's happening now. Why would you ever want him to go through this on weekly television and have him miss weekly television? The fact that it's happening now and they don't have any weekly television planned for another month after All Out is a blessing in disguise. Don't look at it as a negative. Look at what they have as a backup. There's no reason why anybody should be pissed about this whatsoever. It ended up working out better for them in the end. Now, Rey Phoenix, I don't know. Rey Phoenix suffers a major injury. He could miss All Out. I just got report that he's actually wrestling tonight. I don't know if he's stupid or just fucking insane. I don't know. But Rey Phoenix suffered a major injury. Could miss AEW All Out. Rey Phoenix was injured at Big Time Wrestling in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Again, this shit has to stop. Tony Khan, I'm sure, is offering you enough money to make you happy and live comfortably to where you don't have to work Big Time Wrestling in fucking Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Only assholes are up that way. Give me a break. Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. were facing Juventud Guerrera and Teddy Hart, and then something went wrong. Phoenix super kicked Hart, and then he picked up Juventud Guerrera by, I guess, his hair, his mask, whatever, and before that, he collapsed. Just upon picking him up. He collapsed right down to the mat. Phoenix grabbed his leg, rolled out of the ring before waving for assistance. The match carried on without Phoenix. Dave Meltzer reports that the early prognosis is that Phoenix had a serious leg injury. However, he was walking on it later on. Phoenix will have his leg evaluated later this week and is hoping that it's only a sprain. We don't know what part of his leg. We don't know if he tore a fucking MCL, an ACL. We don't know if he rolled his ankle, broke his leg. We don't know. The Lucha Brothers have a match against the Young Bucks for the AAA Tag Team titles at All Out. Everyone is hoping that Phoenix doesn't have to miss the match. A lot of fans were worried. I remember, I was laying down last night, and I was about to fall asleep, and I got tweets. Rey Phoenix broke his leg. Rey Phoenix might be out of All Out. I'm like, what the fuck? I immediately woke up. Everybody was worried. I was worried. Fans were worried. Thankfully, Taya Valkyrie, John Morrison's wife, and Impact Wrestling superstar Taya Valkyrie was able to set the record straight after the event, where she gave fans some positive news. We don't know if this is for sure or not. There's a lot of conflicting reports out there, but this is the latest that I've heard. Just spoke to Phoenix. He's going to be okay. Thank God. No break. Thank God. End quote. So it looks like he did not break his leg. And I'm not going to make the same mistake I made about Moxley. I said that it might not be too serious. He might be at All Out. I said that he'll wrestle Omega with one arm. I'm not going to go into this situation like I did that. I'm hoping for the worst here. I'm going to say that there is a real possibility that Rey Phoenix misses All Out, and that he's not in the match with Pentagon Jr. against the Young Bucks. How smart of it is Rey Phoenix to go into this match and even risk further injury if he's already injured and not 100%. In a ladder match of all people with the fucking Young Bucks? Come on. It's not really a bright idea. If they do need a plan B, I'm sure they could go get the Laredo Kid. That's what I was thinking of. Maybe they could go get the Laredo Kid. Maybe he can fill in for Phoenix and team with Pentagon, being that they were tag team partners for a couple of matches against Omega and the Young Bucks. So we can see that possibly turn out to be a scenario. I'm hoping for the best here, but we just don't have enough, information on this. And I don't know what's going on with Rey Phoenix, but Rey Phoenix is the type of guy that will probably tell you something and calm everybody down because he doesn't want to miss these shows. He'll probably tell you something, and in the end, it ends up being worse off than he originally let on. So I don't know what's going on with Rey Phoenix. I hope it's not serious, but again, we don't have much information going on right now with the entire injury situation to Rey Phoenix. So if I hear anything else, I will definitely let you guys know. Follow me on social media. I'll tweet it out if I hear anything. It might be too late for me to make a video, but the last thing that I heard is that he's wrestling tonight, Saturday night, so it might not be that bad. So he might be stupid, or he might just be absolutely insane. Or it might not be anything at all. Maybe it was just his leg buckling and it gave out and it was nothing more than an injury scare. But if he was seen walking out on his own, how serious could it be? Again, we'll wait to see what happens. Again, follow me on social media for all the details on Rey Phoenix. But we do know Moxley is not going to be at All Out. Hopefully it's not the same for Rey Phoenix. And Moxley missing All Out again is not that big of a deal. We need for him to be 100%. Moxley and Omega on TNT is going to be so much more important than Moxley versus Omega on All Out. So we'll see what happens in regards to all that. Cody Rhodes says, speaking of Moxley and Omega, it will be rescheduled, so don't worry about it. It's not like it's going to be WWE where they drop a fucking storyline, just like they dropped Ali from the Intercontinental Championship title picture. It was supposed to be Ali versus Nakamura at Clash of Champions. Apparently, it's not going to be the case. They dropped it completely. Even after putting this guy over Nakamura, they dropped it completely for whatever reason. Maybe he wins the King of the Ring. Maybe they went in a different direction with Ali. I don't know. But Rhodes says AEW will indeed be rescheduling Moxley versus Omega. After Moxley broke the news, AEW had to work fast to get his replacement. Pac is his replacement. Now, he says that while it will be a great match to see Omega versus Pac, Rhodes commented on how heartbreaking losing Mox is. Then he promised that AEW will work to make that match happen eventually. Very heartbreaking news, he says. Jon's health and safety is paramount to all of us. We will actively try and reschedule this match down the road. A replacement match for All Out will be announced soon. Clearly, that was soon to be announced as Pac. Our thoughts are with Jon, says Cody, end quote. So there you go. They clearly have unfinished business. AEW is not going to be in business to drop something after they ended their marquee event, Double or Nothing, with the closing sequence of Jon Moxley DDTing Omega on a huge stack of poker chips on the stage. They're not going to not continue the feud after a lasting image like that. So we will see it, and we will see it on TNT, and it's going to be better than it ever was going to be at All Out. It's going to be more important as well, so just keep that in mind. Cody Rhodes is oddly intrigued to see what WWE does with NXT on the WWE Network. While speaking to Bleacher Report, Cody Rhodes stated that Wednesday is now the most important night in pro wrestling. AEW versus NXT could be a real war. And he later said that he is oddly intrigued to see what WWE will do with NXT on Wednesday nights live on the USA Network. He says this, and I quote, "I think the most important night in all of wrestling is now Wednesday nights." It is. That's just me saying. It is. The best wrestling is going to be happening on Wednesday nights. It's Destination TV. And when's the last time wrestling was Destination TV? The Monday Night Wars. It's now must watch, and I'm not going to complain about that. Wrestling fans now have a choice, and I hope they choose us. I'm oddly intrigued to see what Vince McMahon does with NXT. My dad was instrumental in building the NXT brand. For a long time, it's been a developmental project. For Vince to now bring it to the USA Network as if it's a full brand, I'm just intrigued by it. End quote. What is he intrigued by? Is he intrigued that NXT moving to the USA Network is going to come under a different light? Is he intrigued to see if Triple H continues to run NXT in the same light that he's been running NXT all these years? Or is he intrigued that Vince McMahon did use NXT as a developmental brand, and now moving it to the USA Network, it becomes its own third brand legitimately? And is Vince McMahon going to get involved with a live third brand on the USA Network? I am oddly intrigued. We are all oddly intrigued. Not only oddly intrigued, we're worried. And I went over why I'm worried several times over. I'm not going to do that here again today, but I have no faith in WWE keeping the true essence of NXT. What happens when NXT starts to lose some steam on the USA Network and AEW beats them week 1, week 2, week 3, so on and so forth? How long do we see Vince McMahon get involved? You know, how long before we see Vince McMahon get involved in NXT and try to change NXT to combat AEW and beat AEW in the ratings? And what happens when Vince finally gets that taste of beating AEW in 1 week? in the ratings? Is he going to step away and give the control back to Triple H? Or is he going to continue to try and one-up his son-in-law, and he's going to just continue running the show as he sees fit to maintain a level of consistency against AEW? There's so many variables here that it gives you a fucking migraine just thinking about it. And I don't want to think about it. Because again, at the end of the day, we don't want a war. I want to watch AEW, I want to watch NXT, and I want both of them to remain true to what they are about to present. If anything, I wanted AEW to exist so that it gets Vince McMahon off his ass and get back to being Vince McMahon that we know can put on a good fucking show on Monday and Tuesday night. The reason why AEW exists is not because of NXT. The reason why AEW exists is because they want to present a true alternative, because the bullshit that we were seeing on Monday and Tuesday nights was just not cutting the fucking mustard. It wasn't. And now Vince thinks that NXT is going to combat AEW. I'm the biggest NXT guy that there is. I'm an NXT mark. And the fact that I'm not watching NXT live on Wednesday nights and I'd rather watch AEW says a lot. Says a lot. And the fact that NXT is going to be on the network Thursday at 8 p.m. anyway, just a day later, what incentive is there for people to watch NXT live when they can go back and watch it on a day where nothing is happening? Doesn't really make much sense. So I'm intrigued about what's going to happen. I'm intrigued about how they're going to do 2 hours. I'm intrigued about how the format's going to be. Because the format right now is perfect. And we went over it. Edge and Christian even talked about it. Yesterday I talked about what they stated on their podcast. It's easy to consume. If you have ADD and you go and watch NXT, you're able to consume that 1 hour. Now they're going to 2 hours, and you might not like NXT at 2 hours. It might be too much for you to digest at 2 hours. Well, right now that 1 hour plate is just a perfect portion. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens, but Cody Rhodes is intrigued, and maybe, just maybe, Cody Rhodes shouldn't have taken that sledgehammer to the throne at Double or Nothing. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm intrigued, yet worried at the same time. Speaking of AEW, man, continuing with AEW news, I got this little piece of information here. AEW's reported plan for the Women's Championship on TNT in October. AEW will be crowning their first Women's Champion during the October 2nd debut episode of TNT, on TNT, but they need to round out who's going to be competing for that championship match first. There will be a casino battle royale at All Out on the pre-show, and the winner will be placed in the AEW Women's title match in Washington, D.C. Now they need an opponent for that winner. Dave Meltzer reports that they've already booked a match between Rio and Hikaru Shida, and that will be a number one contenders match for the AEW Women's Championship. This match was made, but the announcement of it being a number one contender match hasn't been made official by the company, but that is the reported plan. Don't know how smart that is, but it definitely is giving some leeway to the Joshi style that AEW is incorporating into their television program, and that will be prominently featured on AEW on TNT. Now, if that is a number one contenders match, then the winner of the Battle Royal is absolutely going to be a notable name and a face that everyone can get behind as far as a believable contender for the AEW's Women's Championship, whether it's Bea Priestley, whether it's Britt Baker, whether it's Kylie Ray, someone along those lines. It's got to be someone that is definitely well-known. Ivelisse is in the Battle Royal, which I'm happy to see. Ivelisse is a fucking badass. How she wasn't scooped up by WWE is so beyond me, I don't even know. But she's in AEW, she's in the Battle Royal, and I'm sure that AEW is going to offer her a contract, and WWE will have made a big mistake by not signing and scooping up Ivelisse. I don't know who it's going to be, but all I know, it's got to be a notable name to be in the ring with Riho and Hikaru Shida for the Women's Championship. It's going to be interesting to see who they got planned as far as the winner of that Battle Royal. I got some other news here, man. We got news on 205 Live. We got news on Ali and why he was not supposed to be on SmackDown Live. Ronda Rousey breaks her finger. Not only breaks her finger, but almost severs her entire finger off. And we got news on Alistair Black as he explains the meaning behind his character on the main roster and how it differentiates itself from the NXT version of Alistair Black, man. But first, before we do that, make sure you guys check out Audible, man. audibletrial.com/offthescript. You guys are going to get 30 days free of their service and one free audiobook of your choice by using our unique link, audibletrial.com/offthescript. Available on iPhone and Android devices. If you guys want to support the podcast and get absolutely the most out of the podcast and something for free, use Audible, man. 30 days free, and as a thank you for signing up, using audibletrial.com/offthescript, they're going to give you one free audiobook of your choice. Again, guys, that's audibletrial.com/offthescript. Get your 30 days free and get your audiobook on the house just by listening to Off the Script. There's one thing I've been disappointed with coming out of WrestleMania. It's the fact that Ricochet doesn't feel special anymore. And I know it's nothing on his end, because NXT knew how to use Ricochet, and they used him to the best of his ability and allowed him to reach his true potential. They do not allow that on the main roster. They don't want you doing half of what he did in NXT, which sucks. And you can see it. You can see it. Same thing goes for Alistair Black. Alistair Black was one of my favorite acts in all of WWE. He still is. He still is. But coming out of WrestleMania, and the fact that WWE didn't use Alistair Black and they put him in this gimmick and this storyline for himself where he's sitting in an enclosed room waiting for someone to pick a fight with him. I didn't get it. Then it was announced that Cesaro wanted to be the first to pick a fight with him. I'm like, finally, we got something, and it makes sense, because Cesaro is that type of guy. That went nowhere. 0-2 was Cesaro against Alistair Black, and now we're right back into the same situation. He went right back into the closet, and then Sami Zayn came out and said that he wanted Alistair Black, and he wanted to pick a fight with Alistair Black, and that it was going to happen at SummerSlam. That did not happen at SummerSlam. It was actually on the go-home show before SummerSlam. And Alistair Black beat Sami Zayn. Of course he did. With a black mass in about 5 minutes. So that went nowhere either. Now Alistair Black is back in the closet. People are claiming, oh, it should be Bray Wyatt. These are people who are impatient fools. These are people that don't grasp wrestling logic. These are people that their opinions are completely irrelevant. If you are one of those people that think Alistair Black and Bray Wyatt should be the next feud for Bray Wyatt and Alistair Black, you're a complete fucking idiot. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I'm looking right at you in your eyes. If you're watching me, whether you're watching me on iPhone, Android, fucking tablet, your TV, your PC, you are an idiot. Yes, that's a match that I expect to happen, but not now. Alistair Black has had 3 matches since WrestleMania. He's been in a closet for the remainder of that time. You want him to go against Bray Wyatt when Bray Wyatt himself needs victory after victory after victory. Alistair Black has not developed enough stock in the WWE universe for him to go out there and afford a loss. He himself needs to win. That's why I don't understand why he wasn't in the King of the Ring tournament. He wanted to fucking pick a fight with everybody. There you go. You got 15 other guys to fucking pick a fight with in the King of the Ring tournament, which didn't make sense to me. I'm intrigued by what Alistair Black does and says because he articulates himself good. He's a very artistic human being. He speaks in a way that makes you think, and he speaks in a way that makes you listen to what he has to say. You hang on to words that come out of his mouth. He is absolutely, in my eyes, the future of the company. He's got everything going for him. He's great in the ring. He's got a great look. He's got an entrance. He's just... When you look at Alistair Black, he's got the picture-perfect physique and just model of a pro wrestler. You know, and he's cool. He's got that coolness factor to the WWE where they might be severely lacking in that department. But what does the gimmick really mean? What is he? What is he? In NXT, we knew who he was. In NXT, I think that they knew how to book him. I honestly think, and this all my criticism stems from not Alistair Black, but WWE creative. And the fact that they don't know how to book guys like Alistair Black because they don't understand Alistair Black. I don't think they want to understand Alistair Black, where NXT and Triple H and William Regal and Matt Bloom and everybody were so invested in Alistair Black and sat down with him and molded him into what he is today. The WWE, all they had to do was take him from NXT and present him in the same way that they did in NXT, and we'd be off to the races. They would have had a mega superstar already. And I feel like WWE is actually hindering that from happening. They're holding him back. The criticism I have is not allowing this guy in the ring more than we've already seen him. Then I also think on the same side, how often would we be excited if Alistair Black was there presented every single week? I think back to the Ricochet thing. We see Ricochet every week. And the reason why Ricochet has lost his appeal is because we see him every week. Alistair Black, we don't see every week. If anything, we see him for about 15, 20 seconds in a closed room sitting in a black dress shirt, and we don't see him in the ring. If we seen him in the ring as much as we see Ricochet, we might not feel the same way about Alistair Black. So there are definite negatives and positives to this entire thing. But Alistair Black actually explained the meaning behind this character on the main roster. He received a fresh start when he moved over to SmackDown from Raw. He was teaming with Ricochet. They were a tag team. They were building up for him and Ricochet as a tag team because they were trying to play off what happened in the Dusty Classic. They were a tag team in the Dusty Classic. They made the finals. They lost in the finals. Or the championship match that they won the Dusty Classic, that resulted in them winning the Dusty Classic. They lost in the last match, the championship match against the War Raiders. Now, he was moved over to SmackDown from Raw because his wife Zelina Vega was moved over with Andrade, and Andrade was moved over because of Charlotte. So with Zelina being in Andrade's duo, that makes up them, Alistair Black had to be moved over because he's married to Zelina Vega, and Andrade is engaged to Charlotte. So the relationship shuffle was the reason why they all got moved to SmackDown Live. Now, his gimmick and his promos result in him begging someone to knock on his door, pick a fight with him. Cesaro, like I mentioned, picked a fight. Sami Zayn picked a fight. But he sat down and spoke to the Swerve City podcast, which apparently is Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Big Swole, who will also be in the AEW's Women's Battle Royal. I had no idea these guys had a podcast. No idea that she sat down with Swerve Scott to have a podcast. I found this out legitimately a couple of days ago, but I listened, and this is what I got out of the podcast, where Alistair Black explained the meaning behind these backstage promos and his entire character as a whole. It's either you like it or you don't, and that's fine with Alistair Black. It's a metaphorical idea, but the idea that I've always had with Alistair Black in terms of a social statement is that I know what I look like. I know how I talk. I'm trying to evoke a response from you, and the second I see you judging me for what I look like or what I'm trying to do, that tells me something about you as a human being. Your reaction to me, I understand what type of person you are, and that's how I designed Alistair Black. I either want you to be judgmental as hell, or I want you to be comfortable. End quote. I am fine with how Alistair Black is as a human being. I just got done praising him for a good minute. But what I don't like is how WWE seems to, unless this is a complete idea all on his own, and they're allowing him to run with it. I have no clue. None of my business to know. But all I know is I want to see more of him in the ring because we've seen virtually none of him in the ring. But then again, like I said, if he's featured in the way he is, he's going to remain fresh and he's going to remain exciting. Whereas Ricochet is not fresh and not exciting. And Ricochet has sadly become ordinary on Monday Night Raw. There's only so much I can take of Michael Cole and Corey Graves telling me that he's a real-life superhero. They didn't have to resort to those cheesy tactics in NXT, so why do it on the main roster? I expect the best from Alistair Black. I expect a success on SmackDown Live. Hopefully WWE is guiding him in that right direction. All I do is want to see more of him. Someone who I thought we would see much better off than where we see him now is Apollo Crews. Says he wanted more out of his WWE career. And yeah, Apollo Crews should be much further along than he is right now. The Wrap spoke to Apollo Crews where he was quite honest about how his WWE career hasn't turned out as he had first thought it would. Dreams are important to have, and while Cruz is off to a great start, at 32 years old, he would have hoped for more for himself. He says this, and I quote, "I wanted to come in here and shock the world, I guess you could say. I felt like I would have done so much more at this moment in my career, but I'm still young. I'm about to be 32 in a couple of days, and there's still a lot of time. I am still very patient and understanding in how the process works. I trust the process." End quote. Now, we all know that Apollo Crews got pulled from NXT a little bit too quickly. There was no reason for him to be pulled as quick as they did, or did pull him. There was no reason to believe that he would find success on the main roster. The one instance in which Apollo Crews was going to be successful was on SmackDown Live in 2016, where they pretty much drafted a bunch of newbies at the time, and you were with Heath Slater and Rhino. You were with the Alexa Blisses of the world. You were with the Dana Brooks. You were with the... Who else was on there at that time? You were with Baron Corbin at that time. Baron Corbin was there, pulled right out of NXT with the Lone Wolf gimmick. He was pulled from NXT. Apollo Crews was on that brand. They did nothing with him. That was his one opportunity. When he got drafted to Monday Night Raw in a shakeup that followed in the months to come, it was over. He was dead in the water. And he never found his footing because WWE got so comfortable with not using him that they just never used him and completely made him irrelevant. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of Apollo Crews, and maybe he's believing in the process, but I don't. I don't at all. I think Apollo Crews is stagnant. He is great at what he does, but there's really nothing behind Apollo Crews. The machine never got behind Apollo Crews. The process never trusted Apollo Crews. At 32 years old, he should be much higher than where he is right now. Much higher. The only thing that he could really look himself in the mirror and feel is like, yes, I am a successful WWE superstar because I'm providing for my family. I'm providing for my child. That's it. You should be happy with that. I don't think Apollo Crews is going to amount to anything more than where he is now in WWE, and that's a shame. And that's a shame. Trust in the process. If the process was to trust in you, you would have already been a part of the process, and you're not. You're not. WWE values you for a certain thing in WWE, and they don't value you any more than where you are. And that's a shame. Because Apollo Crews, yes, he has all the talent in the world, but all the talent in the world doesn't automatically equal success on the main roster. We didn't know who you were coming out of NXT, and still to this day, we don't know who you are. All we know of you is you like to smile, and you're athletic, and you can move great for a 250-pound guy. I don't know much more to Apollo Crews. And if NXT is moving to the USA Network, which they are September 18th, Apollo Crews could absolutely find himself a new home on NXT, which I don't think would be a bad move in itself. Because I expect nothing from WWE as far as Apollo Crews goes on Monday and soon to be Friday night. That's just my take on Apollo Crews. It's sad. WWE pulled him for whatever reason, but they pulled others after him and did the same thing with them. They pull, have no plans, and then they merely fill roster space, and then these guys suffer because they want to do so much more than they've been given. It's sad. At 32 years old, he should have had a couple of runs as some type of champion in WWE. And the fact that he's not, I don't really anticipate him doing anything at 32 years old and beyond. It's going to be too late. You've already presented him as a loser in the eyes of the fans, and in the eyes of the fans, he's nothing more than a fucking jobber. He's a jobber. And that's sad. What's sad is that Ronda Rousey was on her way possibly to be back in the WWE, but not at the moment. Ronda Rousey breaks her finger, severs her finger, again on the set of a new TV show that she was filming. Now, Ronda Rousey will play a fighter in the new season of 911, and TMZ reports that she was shooting a scene in Mexico, and things went horribly wrong. She was reportedly supposed to slam a door during a dramatic scene, but she forgot to move her hand. I'm cringing as I just think of the thought of that. But as one source put it, she was a little over-exuberant and slammed the door on her finger. Ronda Rousey famously fought through a broken hand during WrestleMania 35 in the main event with Charlotte and Becky Lynch. She busted her hand while laying punches into Becky Lynch, and it didn't slow her down at all. That is exactly what happened on the set of 911. It is reported that Rousey did not wince, did not complain, did not mess up the scene. Instead, she carried on like a trooper and didn't break character at all. The fact that I seen her finger almost falling off in pictures while she was laying in a hospital bed, I don't know how this woman went about that, seeing her finger fucking dangling off her hand. But man, she's got balls bigger than any man I know. Because I would have been crying like a bitch. After the director called, cut on the scene, Rousey let everyone know that she was hurting by saying, "Ow, you're not going to like this." She was then later diagnosed with a broken finger, severed finger, and she could have lost her fucking finger in this scene. Rousey put her finger in a splint and continued working. Hopefully she heals up fast, and hopefully she's back in the ring and in the WWE, because the WWE right now, not at the moment, because Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks are going to carry that brand hopefully for a little bit, but how long before WWE fucks that up? So I'm expecting Ronda Rousey back at some point to add some momentum and adrenaline to a dying women's division. But hopefully she gets better. And man, she's got intestinal fortitude greater than Vince McMahon could ever dream of. She severs her finger and she's going to be back eventually. Ali was supposed to be on 205 Live, and SmackDown Live was only supposed to be a one-time deal. He was brought up to SmackDown in December. He was put in an attraction match at the request of Daniel Bryan. He showcased his moves. He showcased what he could do. Bryan put him over, and he became a full-time member of the SmackDown roster. He says this in an interview, and I quote, "There was no advance notice here. It's like a recurring theme up here," he told Fightful. "I had showed up for SmackDown Live and was told that the night I would be having this match with Daniel Bryan, and it was a one-time deal. And you're going back to 205 Live. It's just a one-time deal, but make the most of the opportunity." And I was just thinking, let me use this moment to get some exposure for 205 Live. Maybe I'll capture the fans and the audience's attention and bring it over to 205 Live. And then the following week, I showed up and I was told that morning, "Hey, you're making the move to SmackDown. You're teaming with AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan and Andrade Cien Almas. And you're on SmackDown now." End quote. So, at that point, he was moved to SmackDown Live, and I believe Sean Ross Sapp interviewed him, and then Ali went on to talk about the vignettes that have followed, being that he's now a full-time member of SmackDown Live. Many have noticed that not much has changed as it pertains to the promos and the vignettes itself, but there's a reason for that, as WWE's own production team realized that if they tried to put them together, that they wouldn't have this unique feel or unique vision coming directly from Ali. He says, and I quote, which is great, and I wish Vince and WWE would allow others to do this same thing. "Those vignettes, they're all mine. 100% mine. They're not written, they're not produced, they're not directed by anything WWE. I showed a few samples of Vince McMahon himself, to Vince McMahon himself. Some of the producers in Vince's direction was, if we get involved with it, it's not going to be its own thing. I like what I see. Go out there and make it your own." So he literally tells me when he needs them, and I make them, and I deliver them. It's very, very cool that someone's self-producing, self-writing, self-directing, and making their own vignettes, said Ali. That's awesome. WWE does not allow that leisure to just anybody. And the fact that they allow Ali to do that, it means, A, that they have some trust in Ali to do the right thing, trust in Ali to deliver, and support him and are invested enough in him to allow him to do that. They enjoy Ali and they love the direction of Ali's character. That's what that says to me. Now, how he's been booked on TV remains to be seen, and that's another story in itself. But he is in the King of the Ring tournament. He could be in the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. For all we know, the reason why he's not in a match with Nakamura is because he is going to be crowned the King of the Ring. I don't know. Only time will tell, but Ali absolutely deserves a bigger spotlight on SmackDown Live. He is legitimately one of the best things on that brand, and I hope to see him deliver this coming week, man. Ali versus Buddy Murphy. I'm telling you right now, I have a good feeling, and when I have a good feeling about something, it's usually right. Ali and Buddy Murphy are going to have the best match of the entire tournament on this coming Tuesday's SmackDown Live. You don't want to miss it. Can't wait to see Ali and what he produces and what he grows into on the main roster. He's definitely one of my favorites right now on the main roster. Finally, guys, we're going to get out of here with this last story. 205 Live getting canceled. I've heard this rumor time and time again. It's been going back and forth with NXT moving to the USA Network. What does that mean for 205 Live? During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer addressed that WWE could be doing a third hour of SmackDown on Friday night. During that discussion, he brought the possibility of 205 Live, and the show right now is not getting any talk whatsoever. He says, and I quote, "It may mean 205 Live goes to the WWE Network, although a lot of people think 205 Live is going to disappear, and it probably should, because talk about a failed experiment, 205 Live is a failed experiment. 205 Live has a very talented roster, and if WWE nixes the show, it makes you wonder what they would do with their cruiserweights. Easy. 205 Live gets canceled. That means that either Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, or both gets treated to talent that wouldn't be seen otherwise. 205 Live is a waste. There's no reason to have 205 Live. Never seen the reason for 205 Live. 205 Live was killed when Vince McMahon got involved and made Enzo its cruiserweight champion. It never seemed to remove that stigma that Vince McMahon ruined of 205 Live. Yes, it's produced great matches. Yes, it's produced great shows. Yes, it's produced quality storytelling for those guys on Tuesday night at 10. But realistically, when SmackDown is so bad on Tuesday night, are you going out of your way to go watch 205 Live on the WWE Network? I know I'm not. And I honestly can sit here and say with a straight face that I would say out of all the shows that have been on WWE Network with 205 Live, I've maybe tuned into one or two. And that is because at your guys' request, when I have to go back and watch something magic happen as far as a match goes with Gable and what's his name? Jack Gallagher. Went back and watched that. You know, you guys told me to go watch it. I went to go watch it. Or something with Drew Gulak, or something with Buddy Murphy, or Cedric Alexander over there. When Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander were having their classics over there, I went and watched those shows. 205 Live doesn't need to exist. 205 Live is such a small ceiling for everyone on that show. And I would like to think that we are trending towards this being a reality because Chad Gable was moved to 205 Live, and now Chad Gable's back on SmackDown Live on the SmackDown Live side of things in the King of the Ring tournament. So is he part of the WWE main roster, or is he part of 205 Live? You're pulling guys from 205 Live with no real reason, no real explanation. And if you're going to replenish 205 Live, I don't want to see people like Isaiah Swerve Scott or Angel Garza on that show. I don't want to see Joaquin Wilde from NXT on that show, the former DJZ. I don't want to see that. There's no reason for 205 Live. If you want those guys in a WWE ring, it's either on NXT or you get rid of 205 Live and give these guys a bigger platform to shine. You put these guys on a Monday Night Raw, or you put these guys on a SmackDown Live. You give these guys a spotlight and a platform to get their name, their brand, and what they're doing out there, because it's never going to happen on 205 Live. Not only that, if you put a Drew Gulak versus Chad Gable, or Chad Gable versus anybody on Monday Night Raw, the quality of that show is enhanced tenfold. Isn't that what should be the priority here? I don't get it. It is, because Monday Night Raw right now with the roster that they have is fucking awful. Monday Night Raw's roster is terrible. It is boring. It is not exciting. You add a match like that on from 205 Live on Monday Night Raw, and your show instantly becomes better quality. And it gives a segment 15 minutes. That's what we should be seeing from these guys. 10 to 15 minutes every single week. Start Monday Night Raw off with a Cruiserweight Championship match. Start Monday Night Raw off with a Cruiserweight match in general. And if you don't want to put them on a specific brand, take the Cruiserweight title and give it the floating treatment. Just like the Tag Team Championships should be floating. Just like the Women's Tag Team Champions right now are already instituted in these shows as a floating championship. You know? That's what it needs to be. Put them on a brand, make it a floating championship between both brands, but get rid of 205 Live. These guys are going nowhere. Yes, as of recently, 205 Live has been a feeder system for the main roster. And I'm glad that Cedric and Buddy and Ali and Gable are getting opportunities on the main roster. But not everybody's going to get that opportunity. Not everybody's going to be that lucky. So I would rather kill it now and put this talent on Monday Night Raw to make that show better and give these guys a better spotlight on Monday night so the WWE fans know who they are. And at the end of the road here with 205 Live potentially getting canceled and them being on Monday Night Raw, who knows? There might be more excitement for the Cruiserweight Championship matches on the special events, on the pay-per-views. They might not be pre-show only. They might graduate to the main card and give these fans something to really get excited about. Treat it like it should be treated. You got these guys signed. You got these guys in their own weight class. Showcase it instead of hiding it behind the fucking network where no one is watching. I guarantee you more people watch my Monday Night Raw review and my SmackDown Live review Monday and Tuesday night than they do 205 Live. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Give these guys the spotlight. Get them on Raw and SmackDown. And if not, one or the other, have them float between Monday and Tuesday night. Simple. Simple. 205 Live should be canceled. And to me, WWE was never going to get behind 205 Live anyway. So you might as well put it out of its misery. I'm getting out of here, guys. I'm going to put myself out of my misery and go grab a cold beverage on this Saturday afternoon. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you think of the Rey Phoenix Moxley issue right now for AEW. Their injuries, devastating injuries. If you guys heard anything about Rey Phoenix that I have not reported here, if there's some new news that might have come out after the podcast was uploaded, let me know down below, man. I'd be very curious to find out what is going on with any additional information on his status for Saturday in Chicago. Make sure you follow me on social media, man, at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Harrys.com/script. $13 value trial set could be yours by using our unique link. Same with Audible, man. 30 days free and a free audiobook could be yours by using audibletrial.com/offthescript. And I'm getting out of here, guys. You might not see anything tomorrow because I have absolutely no news. And I'm just going to refresh for the weekend and be back on Monday for Raw, Tuesday for SmackDown, and then off to Chicago I go on Wednesday morning, man. Can't wait to see all of you in Chicago. Can't wait to get to StarCast and hang out with my boy Ticket Drew. Gonna be awesome. And then we got All Out on Saturday night, guys. Thank you so very much. Hit that thumbs up, and I will see you right back here on Monday. If anything breaks, anything at all, I'll be back here with a small video tomorrow. But if not, I'll see you guys Monday right back here for Off the Script as we cover Monday Night Raw. See you guys then.